You heat it up before Shabbat. Can you take water that was heated up before Shabbat and use it for shower to throw it on you? Um, it's clear that you cannot take a bath in water that was heated up, even heated up before Shabbat. We said because there were the people in the bathhouses that were not scrupulous, and they would heat up they would say that they heated up the water before Shabbat, but really what they would do is they would heat the water up on Shabbat itself. And therefore, the rabbi said, because of that, we can't take a bath with hot water on Shabbat, even though the water was cooked before Shabbat, was heated up before Shabbat, because if you allow that, the bathhouses will be open, and they will play their games, and they'll say, well, there was enough people that played their games that they'll say it was heated up on before Shabbat when it was heated up actually on Shabbat, right? So in order to protect from that, the rabbi said you can't take a bath in that water. Now, what about if I want to use the water not to take a bath? If I want to take use okay, so right, so washing hands, the Gemara the Gemara says doesn't bring down any argument. That everybody would agree, at least so far, you could take hot water that was heated up before Shabbat, and you can wash your hands with that hot water on Shabbat. You can wash your hands, you can wash your face. But the question here is, um, can you go ahead and wash the whole body with the water that was heated up before Shabbat? Wash it, rinse it, throw the water on you, not a bath, right? So that was the discussion of the Gemara, and the Gemara brought different opinions about this. The Gemara brought in one opinion is that you cannot go ahead and do that. You can't go ahead and use it a hot, and even there's an opinion that says you can't even make a cold shower, throw the cold water over you. There is an opinion in the Gemara that says you can. It says not hot, not cold. Then there's the other opinion that says you can. And then you could use even hot water you could throw over you. And then there's the middle opinion that makes a distinction between hot water and cold water. It says hot water, you cannot take a hot shower on water that was heated up before Shabbat, but you could take you could take a cold shower. That is the three different opinions in the Gemara. And yes. But do we want to dedicate the learning today to the neshama of Ariel's father, Tzvi Nachman Ben Sarah, Ben Sada, neshama Shavali, one of Adam. Yes. There's a war. Talk a little louder. Yeah. There's a war. Water for Shabbat. Even wash our hands or face. Right, because if hands or face. Right, 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 right. But heating the water, but bathhouse, maybe the question is, it's not so similar to a bathhouse. Just washing your hands and feet is a very limited. It's a very limited type of washing, and therefore the Gemara didn't feel that that if you allow that, they're going to come to allow washing your whole body. Obviously, rinsing your whole body is much more similar to bathing your whole body, and therefore that's a discussion. Did they extend it to rinsing the body, just like bathing the body, or is it limited to bathing the body? But water that was heated up before Shabbat to use just to wash your hands and feet, that's not the common. That's very very distant from what a bathhouse does. The bathhouse is much more intense. It's total body immersion, total rinsing of total body. Therefore, they didn't go that far to go ahead and forbade and forbade that. The bear house is a business. Bear house is a business. So let's say a guy would pay his pay for the week membership, and then he'll be open. He'll be open on Shabbat. Let's say he's not saying he's not charging for the Shabbat itself. Let's say he'll be charging $10 for the week to use the bathhouse. Then the Gemara suggested yesterday that that concern is only a whole argument is only if the water is in a utensil. But if the water was on the ground, if the water that was heated up is on the ground, not in a utensil, the Gemara suggested yesterday that maybe everybody would agree it is fine. We're not worried, not such a concern. And the Gemara moved away from that. And what we're up to now is Ela Itma Hachi Itma. This is where we left off. We are on 39b. 39b to 39. What is it? B2 or B? Yeah, B2. Eli itma, hachi itma. You have it on the right side. 39b2, middle right column. Adam, you got it? Eli itma, hachi itma. This is how you have to. This is what Rav Chizda said. Machloket bekarka. The argument is if the water, can I use this water to rinse my body, take a shower, when the water is on the ground? Let's say let's say that the water is in a tub, and I want to take that water and I want to throw it on my body. So that's where there is a argument whether I could do that or I can't do that. Can I take the water from the tub that was heated up before Shabbat? Can't use it. I can't dip myself into the tub, but to take that water to pour it on my body, that's where there is a argument. But of a bikli, but if the water is in a utensil, if the water is in a, let's say, a pot, let's say the water was heated up in a pot before Shabbat, that divrei hakol asur. Everybody would agree that would be a problem. And probably the problem is like we stated yesterday. What's the problem? Because if you're going to go ahead and use water that was heated up in a utensil before Shabbat, and we know it's common that they would mix the hot water with cold water, and if people see that you go ahead and use that water on Shabbat, so people will think that you actually mixed the cold water with the hot water on the Shabbat. And what will be the mistake that people will make? The mistake that people will make is that they would think that there's no problem to take cold water and heat it up with hot water that's no longer on a fire, hot water that's off the fire, right? I have a pot of water, a big pot of water that was heated up, and it's no longer on the fire. But if it's still boiling hot, that's called a kli rishon. And a kli rishon, even though it's not fire, this pot that I took off the fire, but we say that the derivative of fire, something that was cooked by fire, has the same power of cooking. We treat it like being on the fire directly itself, right? If a person Friday night goes ahead and takes his pot soup off the fire, and then he mixes water in that pot of soup, he pours water into the original pot, and that pot is boiling, he just cooked up the water, because that's a kli rishon. He cooked up water, but he didn't cook up the water with fire. He cooked up the water with the water that was heated up from fire. which is called toldat ha'esh. It's a derivative. It's a child of the fire. It wasn't directly from the fire. But the same way you can't put something on the fire, you can't put something that was cooked from the fire. And if you're going to go ahead and you're going to allow the person to go ahead and use the water that was cooked before Shabbat in the pot, and you're going to use that water on Shabbat to throw on your body, people are going to think you actually mixed that water on Shabbat. You took cold water and you mixed it into that boiling hot water in the Kli Rishon, and they'll come to make a big mistake to think there's no problem. Morning, welcome back, Ezra. They'll come to make a big mistake to think that there's no problem using a derivative of fire to heat up something. So therefore, that's much bigger of a concern in a utensil than if it's on the ground, the water, because as we said yesterday, on the ground, people might say that maybe the water got heated up not through a derivative of fire, through hot springs, and therefore they won't come. And hot springs is not a derivative of hot. It's not going to come to a biblical mistake, like because hot springs, derivative, these type of things are not a biblical issue. Morning, Mark. So the Gemara says, "Itma hachi itma." Machluket the karka. Only if the water's on the ground. Of a bekli divrei kol asur, but in the utensil, everyone agrees with asur. Amar Rabba Bar Chana. Now here we're getting today, with all the discussion that we had, now we're getting down to the bottom line a little bit here. Can I take the shower with hot water on Shabbat that was heated before Shabbat? And the Gemara is going to say no. The Gemara is going to say I can't. After all of that, but you know what the Gemara is going to say, Mark? You can take the cold shower. The cold water, the Gemara is going to say you could, but hot, the Gemara is going to say you. Right, Ashkenazim go even further. The Ashkenazim are more strict. They say you can't even take a cold. They extend it, not even to take a cold shower on the Shabbat. Right, that's what the Gemara is going to say right now. Let's see. I think they. Okay. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabba Bar Chana Rabbi Yochanan. Halacha to Rabbi Yehuda. The law follows Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda was the middle of the road opinion. Right? The middle of the road opinion was you cannot take the hot water that was heated before Shabbat and use it to throw it on your body, to rinse your body with it. You can't take a shower with hot water that was cooked before Shabbat, but you can go ahead and use cold water over your body. Wanted to see they might say something here. They bring down in the Art Scroll, in the Hebrew version, even though Me'ika Hadin, according to the basic law, you're allowed to go ahead and so here he's talking about, so here on the bottom, you see he's talking about washing. Okay. There's an old, right, so he brings down over here that there's an old minhag that you don't bathe. You don't bathe on Shabbat, right? Even in cold water, right? But but shower, right? So we'll see more about that. But here they bring down there's an old custom not to bathe in cold water. Now bathing and showering are two different two different things, right? You could say you don't take a bath on Yom Tov, you don't take a bath on Shabbat, but right, right. So good. So now we're getting into this. So we have to see where the there is discussion about swimming on Shabbat, right? That issue, right? So there's room to we'll have to let's see further if we could we'll have some shed some light on that or not. But based there might be other issues with the swimming, right? It may come to create rafts or other things, might build certain things if you might come to do certain things. So carry the water, maybe there might be on your body. There's something is issue with the hair. There's different issues that might come up with the swimming. Okay. So the Gemara says, Halacha Rabbi Yehuda. The law follows Rabbi Yehuda. Okay. Amalei Rabbi Yosef. So Rabbi Yosef says, to Rabbi Bachana, Beferish mi'alach or Miklolish mi'alach? Did you hear this openly? That Rabbi Yochanan said this openly? Meaning you said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, the law follows Rabbi Yehuda, right? We have three rabbis on here. We have Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon. Yeah, we have Rav Chizda, but on the Tanaim, on the Tanaic level, in the early rabbis, we have Rav Meir, Rav Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda. Those are the three rabbis. And Rav Meir was the more stringent opinion. We have a rule, the Gemara, Rav Meir chayish l'mi'uta. He's concerned for the minority. Minority situations, he sometimes gets a little cautious. He's a cautious man. He's a cautious man. And he takes a more stringent opinion. He likes to make that extra protection. So he is the more strictest opinion here. We are on 39b B3. Just turning the page. So Meir takes the most strict opinion. But we said the law follows Rabbi Yehuda, which is in the middle. You cannot take a shower with hot water on Shabbat. You could take a cold shower on Shabbat. That's what based on the Gemara, like we said, the Ashkenazim have their stringency is a later stringency. It's not the Gemara does not indicate at all. I mean, the halacha is very clear. So far, it's clear what the Gemara stated. The law follows Rabbi Yehuda. You can take a cold shower on Shabbat. You can't take a hot shower on Shabbat, even though the water was heated before Shabbat. So the Gemara wants to know, okay, you said that's the law, right? You, Rabbi Bachana, said that Rabbi Yochanan said that's the law. That Rabbi Yehuda is correct. Now, did you hear Rabbi Yochanan say that openly? He said the law follows Rabbi Yehuda, or you inferred it from a general rule. There's a general rule out there, and therefore, based on the general rule, that Rabbi Yochanan said in general, you figured out, you took his rule and you applied it to this case. Now, what's the general rule so the Gemara says? My klala, what is the general rule? The Amar of Tanchum of Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Rabbi Yanai. Of Tanchum says the name of Rabbi Yochanan, the name of Rabbi Yanai, Amar Rav, some have the text Amar Rav, some Amar Rebbe. Wherever you find two rabbis that are arguing, okay? One rabbi takes position A, one rabbi takes position B, and then you have a third rabbi. And the echad machriya. And the third rabbi is like the middle, takes a little, he's like the compromise, so to speak. He doesn't go he's not as strict as the one opinion. He's not as lenient as the other opinion, but he's mean that he takes the middle of the road opinion. He's not, right? You got that, Ezra? He's not as strict as this. One was all the way strict, one's all the way lenient. He's the middle. He's like Machriya. So he goes in the middle. So halacha kedivi Machriya. The law follows like that middle approach, that middle opinion. Chutz mikulei matloniot. Except the case regarding tumah, regarding a certain type of garment that's used for certain types of use, which is not such a such a nice, it's not so such a nice use. Let's say stuffing a tub or stuffing a hole. Whether that item would be able to receive contamination or not receive contamination. So that only over there, that's an exception of the rule that afal pi Rabbi Eliezer machmir, when it came to the garment, that issue with the garments, Rebbeinu Hananel says a little bit. He says this the Gemara in Kalim, Mishnah Kalim, talks about if something is less than 3 tvachim by 3 tvachim, it sounds like it's less than 11 inches, like a rag, but it's less than the 11 inches by 11 inches, and you're using it, let's say, to close up the hole as a stopper, as a bathtub stopper in the bathhouse. You want to stop, you want that the water should not be lost, and you close up the water, it gets very dirty. And there's a whole discussion, is that item fit for contamination, able to receive contamination? And over there, we have Rabbi Eliezer machmir. Rabbi Eliezer was machmir, was very strict. He took the stricter opinion that, let's say that it is mekabel tumah, and let's say Rabbi Yeshua mekel, and Rabbi Yeshua was mekel, and Rabbi Akiva machriya, and Rabbi Akiva took the middle of the road opinion. Ein halacha k'divrei machriya. Over there, we don't say that the law follows the middle opinion. Why? Why over there does the law does not follow the middle opinion, which is Rabbi Akiva? Right. Chada, number one, Rabbi Akiva Talmudu. Rabbi Akiva was a student of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. And because he was a student of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, the student doesn't have the power to say, I'm gonna agree with this rabbi and this aspect, and I'll take the other rabbi's opinion in that aspect, and I'm gonna make a compromise in the middle, but you're not in that position as being a student to do that. And just remember the Gemara in Brachot, we had Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua. The race he had. Okay, so we have to see all the details, over there to really. Okay, what could it be? So let's see if this Gemara brings that whole Mishnah in Kelim. Let's take a look. Lamed Tet Lamed Beis. Really, let's see if they bring the Mishnah. Let's see, Mem Hey Aleph. Yeah, they're arguing over there regarding a rag that's less than 11 inches by 11 inches, less than 3 12 by 3 12, and you're using this rag to be a stopper. Now, is it capable of receiving contamination? Right? In order for something to receive contamination, it has to have some sort of, generally has to be a utensil, right? And it generally has to have most probably some, so the question here is it's not being used in a very nice fashion. It gets dirty and all that. So here it is, Mark, to answer your question. Rabbi Eliezer holds whether it's muchan or not muchan, whether it's prepared or not prepared. We have to see how the Gemara addressed. What does that mean? He talks about two different situations. Muchan or not muchan, he says it's able to receive contamination. Rabbi Yeshua says it doesn't make a difference whether it's muchan or not muchan, prepared or not prepared. It sounds, on the surface, it sounds like if the rag was prepared, whatever. We have to see what muchan and not muchan means. Rabbi Yeshua says in all situations, whether it's prepared or not prepared, it is tahar. Rabbi Akiva makes a difference. If it was prepared, it's tamei. It's not prepared, it's done. Now, what is prepared, not prepared, we have to see what the Mishnah means. But we see there's different cases going on, Mark. Mukhan and not Mukhan. And comes Rabbi Akiva, and he takes the, and he makes the takes the middle of the road. He says that most probably he says one is tamei and one, yeah, according to Rabbi Akiva, only the muchan, the one that was prepared before, is contaminated. If it wasn't prepared, it's not contaminated. Again, we have to see what the prepared means. But that's that we see. There's multiple cases going on, and therefore Rabbi Akiva is picking. Good morning, David. Good to see you. Rabbi Akiva is picking the middle of the road. But you can't. If you're a colleague of someone and you want to say, I'll accept your position regarding this law, I'll accept my other colleague's position in that case, you could do that. But if you're a student, the student of the rabbi is not able to go, is not powerful enough to say, it's like if I'm a student of Rabbi Yosef, let's say if I would be he has an argument with Tzin Abba Shol, I'm not in a position to go ahead and say, I'll accept Rabbi Yosef's opinion in this case, but Tzin Abba Shol's opinion in that case. I'm not in that, I'm not in that level. And furthermore, the Gemara says, we are now on 48. Rabbi Akiva changed his mind. Sometimes in the Gemara, you have an opinion, and then later on you change your mind. Sometimes you find, good morning, Asaf. Sometimes we find that Beit Hillel changed his mind to follow Beit Shammai's opinion sometimes, because it's all about truth. It's not like many politicians in Washington, right? They don't change their mind. Most of maybe the only time they change their mind most of the time is for their benefit, right? If it'll make them get them more votes, but not because the issue, they change their mind. There's a debate in Washington. The senator from Vermont is speaking, the senator from New Hampshire, and they're debating an issue. How many times they have a debate, they change their mind as a result of debate? David, you ever heard that they were debating in Washington Congress, and the guy got up and said, okay, I changed my mind. I heard your position. Has that ever happened in the last 200 years in Washington? I don't know. I never heard that everybody gets to the floor. Everyone gets to say their position. That, okay, I changed my mind. You ever heard that happen? We look up on Google one day. When was the last time they debated something and the guy changed his mind? Exactly, because it's all about the deal. But Torah, there's no money deal going on here, whether it's tamei or not tamei, and yet Rabbi Akiva changed his mind. There's no profit going on here. There's no price. There's no issue here, and therefore we change minds. But you're about the emet. Not because it doesn't say that, because no, it doesn't. No, but he took the position of Rabbi Yeshua. That's what he says, meaning his hadabi Rabbi Akiva legabi de Rabbi Yeshua regarding Rabbi Yeshua. So it sounds like he agreed. He was a student of both, Mark. So if he's a student of both, and then at the end he takes, if you back off because I'm a student, you back off from both opinions. But if you say I agree with Rabbi Yeshua, it's not because you're doing it because he's your rabbi. Because remember, a student has power to argue on his rabbi, but maybe you don't have the power to say, I'm going to accept this rabbi's opinion and this and that far. That's the Gemara said, we're not going to accept that to that point. But Hadamei Rabbi Akiva legabe Yeshua, he changed his mind and he agreed to. Say it again.
You can't say, I don't agree with either one of you. I'm immediate. So first he said he can't outspeak his two rabbis. He's a student of both rabbis. You can't override both of these rabbis.
I don't know if he can.
He's in a predicament. Has to either go with one or the other.
No. Again, because right, he can't take both of them, and therefore he can't be have the power.
Say you can question them. You can't override. So now he's in a predicament. He has to pick one or the other.
But the way you could explain the Gemara, he doesn't have the power to to take to say that compromise. Maybe that's why he doesn't have the power. To say that the halacha will follow him, meaning to say, if we're all colleagues and one has a position all the way to the right, one has a position all the way to the left, we're all on the same level, I could that then you can mediate. But if you're not on the same level, you can't mediate. But you still have ability to argue.
Yeah, but he has ultimately.
That's what I would think. We
he
do.
has to pick black or white. If he wants to mediate and be in the middle, gray, he can if he's on the same level. If I'm not on the same level, I can't say gray. So ultimately, he's faced with I have to pick black or white. I can argue, but I can't forsake or I can't mediate. It says clearly he can't mediate.
So maybe what it means.
He has left in a position, one or the other.
So maybe we could explain it like this. Even if the Talmud, we said the law follows the Machriya. See, the law follows the middle of the road, right? We said in general, whenever there is a mediator, the mediated position, the mediated position wins. That's what we said in general.
If they're all even.
If they're all even. If they're all not even, the mediated position doesn't win. But doesn't mean you can't have that mediated position. The proof is Rabbi Akiva originally had that mediated position.
So are you saying he can keep his position?
But the law won't follow him.
But he still is not gonna.
The law won't follow. Right. We have a rule. What? We can't go with it. That's now we're clear. He has the right to hold. He has the right to say, "I hold this way and that way." But we're not going to take his position for law if he is the student. Meaning that's what now we're clarifying what we're saying.
So he doesn't have to.
Right. He doesn't. He doesn't.
Have to rub Yeshua.
You don't have.
He could say, "I'm still holding into the middle."
I can help, but we're not going to.
No one's following.
Right, exactly, because he's the student. Good morning.
But he follows himself.
He has a right to have that middle position. He has a right. You have a right, even if you're a student, to have your middle position. But we're not going to follow the law when you're a student and you're making the middle. But that seems to be what the Gemara. That's very good. That seems right. See, that's how in this. Right, the halacha doesn't follow him. Right. No problem.
Hold that position, that means keep it that way. Or does he have to at some point say, I have to follow the halakha because we follow Rabbi Yeshua, I have to follow Rabbi Yeshua?
No, yeah.
Is it intellectual or is he like doing that?
Yeah, what is he doing? At the end of the day, does he hold that it's about the rags? Does he hold that it's can take too much, even though Rabbi Yeshua says it doesn't? Did he say that that's too much and think it's too much?
Right. So it sounds like from the Gemara. Right.
Because you have to put his hands up and say, they're not following me, I have to follow them.
No, so
I can't make my own religion.
So it sounds like here. It sounds like from the Gemara. He originally stated his own a different opinion, a third opinion. He has a right to offer his own opinion, even if it's different than the rabbis, even if it's a middle of the road opinion. But we will not. We don't follow that law that we say when you have two sides of two sides and one rabbi goes in the middle and we take that middle of the road position, not so strict and not so lenient. When if you accept one opinion regarding one case, you accept the other opinion in the other case, we don't follow, the law doesn't follow. In general, the law is, if you take that type of position, we will follow your position. But if you're a student and you have that position, the law doesn't necessarily follow you. Oh, that's a good, in general, when a student, whether it's a student or whatever, the student has the right, most probably, to follow his own position. The only question is, but the law for the community follows whatever the accepted opinion is. See, now you're getting into a different question. When
Yeah.
rabbis argue with each other, and one rabbi wins, can the other rabbi can do his own thing?
Right.
Or can the rabbi say, once the law follows,
You,
right,
that's what I'm
right.
saying.
but I have to also jump in that. But that's something that's not clear to me. Yeah, but there's discussion, there's discussion about that. Okay, I want to wish everyone a great day. And when he changed his mind, he accepted the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua. He could have went Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua. He just changed his mind to follow Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. Have a great day, everybody. Great, Ezra, welcome back. We miss you. David, thank you for being here. Every minute counts. Every second counts. Exactly. So, I mean, you come, other people see, people come to a class and encourages others, right, Jack?